Hey there, it's Michael Kwan with NFTs Unlocked, and in this video I'm going to share with you how to get into the biggest, most hyped, and potentially most profitable NFT projects out there. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to share with you the exact steps and strategies that I use to get into the mega NFT project Invisible Friends. Okay, let's get started. But before we do that, I just want to remind you that this is not financial advice. Do your own research. And I'd love for you to comment below. Do you agree with my opinion? Do you not? Are there other strategies that you've used before that can actually help get you onto some bigger projects? So let's have a look at Invisible Friends. Invisible Friends is a massive project that's been out there now for about 2 or 3 months, really building a lot of momentum. And as of today, you can see that they've actually got 414,000 followers on Twitter, which is just amazing in terms of the sheer amount of people that are following them. And what's interesting is that I think most people, similar to me, just really gravitated towards this very unique artwork. I mean, if you look at it, it's just so unique, right? The whole concept of an invisible friend, right? That doesn't have any features, but it has all these fun, cool caricature type, accessories and clothes. And I really love that it was so unique. And so that's what really first caught my attention, long before it had all these followers. And let's take you back 2.5 months is when I first found this project. And I noticed that, they had a decent following. Back then it was only probably like 20,000 followers. So it wasn't anything too crazy, but, I started to see those followers go up quickly. So I knew that I wanted to get in, figure out, learn more about this project. And I first noticed that they are part of what's called the Random Character Collective. Now, what the Random Character Collective is a group of animation NFT projects. And so I thought that was cool because they actually had a history of other projects that had come out before. And the other two before are called Slim Hoods and Mood Rollers. So the first thing I did was I went into their Discord. And, this is where you find out the general information about this Random Character Collective. I was interested in, how do I get onto the whitelist or the access list? So part of what you want to do when you first get into a Discord server is to understand the structure. Every Discord server is a little bit different, but for the most part, a lot of them have announcements. And in this case, because it was a collective between 3 different projects, I started scrolling on the left just to see how it was organized. I noticed that there was a section for the Slim Hoods, the Mood Rollers, and then of course Invisible Friends. Now, because there was already 2 additional projects before Invisible Friends, that gave me some confidence that the Random Character Collective kind of already knew what they were doing. They'd already launched 2 successful projects. Those had sold out. And even though their prices weren't that high, it had been around for a little bit and it was existing. So that gave me some confidence as well. The next thing I did was I went to go figure out, who is the actual artist for Invisible Friends. And it turns out that it's this gentleman called Marcus Magnuson. And as I started to look into him, I realized that he's an actual artist that's been around in the animation space for quite some time. We're talking about a good 10 years or so. And so that gave me some confidence because a lot of the great projects that have done well in the past, like Doodles, for example, are using legitimate artists from the art world. So in that case, it was Burnt Toast. And so I was like, oh, that's an interesting similarity. But I didn't know, too much about him. But I was like, well, at least he's a legitimate person. He's doxed, meaning that we know who he is, and he's not some faceless artist that's out there. So after that, I went back to the Discord because, again, Discord is our friend with giving us information about a project. And I started to read through the announcements. Now, in the beginning, there wasn't that much information other than to say that there was going to be 5,000 NFTs. Half of them were going to be going to the early access list, and then the other half was going to go to people that were holding some sort of rollers or the Slim Hoods. And in order to, potentially take advantage of that, you had to just basically hold these things. And so it was very vague in what that meant. So I was like, you know what, maybe I'll go out and I'll just buy one of each, because at the time it wasn't that expensive. So I went and I got a Mood Roller for like 0.108. I got a slim hood, this guy for like 0.192. So all in all, I was about zero point 0.3 Ethereum into this project. And I was like, you know what? These are kind of cool. I actually like this. I like this art as well. So it didn't, bother me that much in case, this actually did end up being a rug. Luckily it wasn't, but I didn't know at the time. So again, I came back into here and I just was monitoring the different announcements. And part of getting onto the early access list, they said in order to do that, you just have to be really active in the community, help other people, and then the mods will consider you for early access. So I went down to the Invisible Lounge here. This is their general chat area. And I just started, having conversations with people. And there was just like so many people. It was like nonstop. There was just like all this scrolling chat. Like it was crazy trying to figure out even having a conversation with someone. Sometimes you would miss it because it was scrolling so fast. But I just started, chatting, helping out, answering questions, asking questions myself. And then as you go along and you ask more questions or you answer things, you start ascending what's called levels in Discord. And so, I got to level 1 the first night, and then the next night I got to level 2 and 3. And I think it took me a good week, 7 or 8 days or so to ultimately get to level 10. Now, the interesting thing at level 10 is this is where I was able to unlock what's called the invisible games. Now, invisible games, because most people aren't at level 10, this is a nice little filter to kind of, figure out who are the people that are actually dedicated, trying to, become a helpful community member in this Discord. And so once I came into here, there was only maybe a few hundred people versus in the main Discord, there was tens of thousands of people. And so they would have these periodic trivia games. They would have these puzzle games, scavenger hunts, riddles, and then ultimately, more recently, they've had these poker games. I actually like the poker games because I love poker. And then if you win the game, you actually will then get early access lists potentially. So I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And, I played a number of different games, but in the end, I didn't end up winning anything. So that was unfortunate. But I did keep my eye on the announcements throughout. And so this was back in mid-December into late December. And we were actually on vacation. And, I was constantly monitoring what was going on with announcements, wanted to see if there's any more information. And I happened to catch an announcement in the Invisible Friends announcements that basically said, okay, we've decided that if you're holding a mood roller or a slim hood, each of those is going to count as a point. And if you're holding more than 4 points, you're going to instantly, or if you're holding 4 or more points, you're instantly going to get early access to the project. And so I was like, oh, wow, I'm already holding one of each. So if I just buy one more of each, then I can pretty much guarantee my access. So I was like, you know what? I've done all the games. I've, integrated, tried to play the so-called grind game, and, it didn't work out. Some people, it worked out for, but for me, it didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and guarantee that. So I put up some more capital and I went back to the marketplace and I bought one more mood roller and one more slim hood. Now, because I caught the announcement about 2 hours after it was announced, some other people had also realized that, hey, we can guarantee our spot. And, the price essentially started going up. So instead of 0.108, when I bought my original mood roller, it was now like a 0.5. And then the slim hood was all the way up to like a 0.6. So, I did have to put up over a little more than 1 Ethereum in order to buy the other 2. But I was like, you know what? I really love this project. I need to get into this. This is like a really fantastic piece of artwork and the community is awesome. And that's what I did. So keep that in mind that you can potentially buy other NFTs, which will give you access to a whitelist occasionally. So at this point, I was already in 1.5 ETH, which was, not a small sum of money and a decent investment, right? And so I was like, you know what? I've locked in my position. This is great. And the interesting thing that happened, though, was that as other people started to see this announcement, the price of the other projects just kept going up and up and up. And so even though I bought it at 0.6 and 0.5, it started to go higher and higher and higher. And at some point, probably within the next couple of days, it got up to like a full ETH for each of the projects. And I was like, oh, this is great. This is actually growing the unrealized gains for me by just holding these other NFTs as well. So I was like, okay, this is a nice little side ancillary profit. And so I just kept watching it, and then it actually got to 2 ETH, and I was like, oh man, do I want to exit this? Because at that point, I could have cashed out potentially 6 ETH, which at the time was about $10,000 or so. So I was like, that sounds kind of nice, right? I wouldn't have to do anything. But then I'm like, but I really love this like invisible friends thing, so I'm going to let it ride. And that's what I'm doing essentially. As of today, we're in February. The prices for each of these is close to 2.8 a piece. So if we take 2.8 times 4, we're at 11.2 Ethereum. Subtract out my 1.5 cost basis, we're talking about a 9.7 unrealized gain times Ethereum's price today is like $2,800. Yeah, we're talking about a $27,000 gain from just taking some action, buying the NFTs in this random character collective so they could get access to the Invisible Friends project. Now, I did think about, okay, maybe I should just cash this out, but I think and I feel that the access to Invisible Friends is going to be even more profitable. So I'm holding on to these things. Potentially, these may go down in value once the snapshot is done and people, once people get access to the list that are holding these NFTs, people potentially may dump them. I actually might sell one of them, because if I can sell one of them for just 1.5 Ethereum, the great thing about that is all of a sudden I've got my entire cost basis back out, and then everything else beyond that is just pure profit, and it's an infinite return. So that's the way that I really enjoy looking at NFT projects, right? I want to put as little money in as possible and reap the maximum reward and try to pull my cost basis out whenever I can. Now, is this easy to do? Not necessarily. It takes some intention, and it takes obviously some time to figure out, the best strategies to get into a project, and you do have to put up some capital at some point. But do realize that, at this point, you can actually still get in to this by purchasing 4 mood rollers or 4 slim hoods or a combination thereof. However, I don't know if I would necessarily suggest that, because all of a sudden you're paying upwards of 10 ETH, 11 ETH, whatever it may be at the time. And then all of a sudden you have that much to lose. So bear that in mind as you're becoming a better NFT investor. You don't want to put all of your eggs into one basket, and you don't necessarily want to chase. At least that's my opinion. You tell me if you think otherwise. Could it go up to 20? Yeah, maybe. But if you're already 10 in and it goes down to 8, then you're out 2 ETH. So, if this isn't the project that, you're meant to be in, just remember there's going to be more opportunities beyond this. There's going to be definitely more opportunities. So the challenge for you is to go out and find those early projects. So you want to go onto Twitter, you want to follow these different NFT influencers, you want to see what's trending, you want to see which projects you like, and then go follow those Discords early on and get integrated and start becoming an expert in a couple of different Discords for specific projects. And don't get too, distracted. A lot of times, you could have, 100 different Discords that you're following, but guess what? If your focus is scattered across so many different ones, it's going to be hard to key in on that key information. So in the sense with Invisible Friends, I was pretty much monitoring just that one and maybe like 5 other ones at the time. Now, I could have been looking at 20 or 30 at a time, but again, my attention span would have been skewed. We were during the holidays. So I think it's a better strategy to become an expert in a specific project and see what you can do specifically to get onto their whitelists. All right. Well, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer anything. Let me know what you think. Do my strategies make sense? Are there other strategies that you use that have given you success before. I'm always eager to learn, what are the different ways that other people are doing to, get onto these whitelists as well. All right. If you got any good value from this video or you enjoyed it, please do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe. That really helped me out. I'd appreciate it so much because Google will then share it with more people. If you have any questions about NFTs, feel free to throw them in the comments below. If you're brand new to NFTs, I also run an investment group called NFTsunlocked.com, and I have a full-blown course on how to get started, how to set up all of your systems, stay safe, do it in a manner that makes sense. And then we talk about different profit strategies along the way. I've been very fortunate in this space, and we've just barely scratched the surface of the opportunities that are coming. So it's an incredibly exciting time. We're all early in this together, and we like to say, WAGMI, right? We're all gonna make it. With that said, my name is Michael Kwan. We'll see you in the next video, and until then, stay blessed.